Hello, my name is Evan Medeiros from thetraderisk.com. I will be your tour guide throughout this Worden TC2000 Foundation series. I've been trading since 2009 and I've been a Worden customer for nearly as long. My background's computer science and I've spent a lot of time writing custom scans, indicators, watch list columns for myself and as a service to thousands of traders just like you. Once you get done with this video, you want to check out the other guides we have on our channel. And on our website, you'll find plenty more TC2000 resources, including free downloads available for you as well. And now, let's get on to today's lesson. All right, in today's video, we're going to be discussing charts, layouts, and workspaces. We're going to be demonstrating how to customize each of these. We're going to explain exactly what they are, and we're going to show you how they all interact with one another. And it's important that we understand how charts, layouts, and workspaces work because it is what is going to enable you to get the most out of TC2000 so you can understand how to make and show and display the information that you want in an efficient way and how to sort of navigate around the platform. So let's dive right in. We're going to start with charts. Charts are the most specific element out of the three, and we're going to start our journey here. So if you look at my screen, I've got TC2000 open. I'm looking at version 20, and I've got a chart of the S&P 500 open. Notice it's a candlestick chart. I have two indicators on this chart. On the upper indicator here, I've got a MACD, 8 and 21 MACD, and on the bottom end of this chart, I have volume with a 21-day, 21-bar moving average on the volume. So this is my chart. And if I look actually in the top left, in this tab right here, you can see that I've actually given this chart a name. It's called my Evans Standard. So this is my standard chart that I like to use when I'm just generally, doing some technical analysis, when I just want to throw up a stock or an ETF and I want to see what it looks like. This is the view that I prefer to have. MACD, volume, simple candlesticks, very basic and very straight to the point. But sometimes I'm going to want to see a different view. I either want different indicators, I want to see maybe a line chart or an open high-low close bar chart. And because of that, I would like to have the option to create different chart types. So let me show you a couple of small examples first. If I go to the next tab here, you can see I have another chart type called Evans Bollinger. And as its name implies, the difference here is that I now have Bollinger Bands applied to my chart. And so just by a click of the tab up here, I can toggle back and forth between these different chart types that can have different indicators. If I go to my third tab, I have a chart type defined as the 50 and 200 SMA. So this is where I have two simple moving averages plotted on my chart, and they are the 50 and the 200 day when I'm interested in seeing where price is relative to those moving averages. The key distinction here is that these are all individually saved chart types. So let's go back to the standard tab here, the standard chart. And let's just throw some, let's see, what do we want to throw on here? RSI. Let's put an RSI indicator on here. And let's also look at something like changing the plot, the actual candlestick. So if I click on edit and I go to the plot style, let's say I want to go to a high-low close setting here. And you know what? I just want pretty much the same colors here for both of, or I'm sorry, I want to change it to white and red as up bars for white, down bars as red. So maybe this is my new view, and you know what? I don't really care about volume on this view. I just want to see momentum down here. I'm also going to get rid of the MACD, and now suddenly I have this, and by the way, maybe I want to display the RSI as a histogram here, or even maybe an area chart might be a little bit better as well. So this is something that looks entirely different now, and notice it's still under my Evans standard, and this is not a standard chart anymore. This is something very different. So what I would want to do is now save this chart as a new chart type. And so what I can do for, in order to do that, here's what I would do. I would just right click on the chart. I would go down to save here, and I would go to chart as, save chart as, and now I'm going to give it a name. And so maybe this is now my, Evans RSI open, high, low, close chart, and I would click save. I'm not going to save it because I'm not interested in this. This is just an example, but that's how I would go ahead and create a new chart type. I'm going to click cancel, and then I'm going to go to this little plus sign here to put a new tab, and I'm going to click on this chart. And I can see all of these different views here. So I can go to, let's see, a Dow Jones 100 year. And I don't have that service right now installed. So that's kind of funny. So let's go to another one, ADX trend strength. Okay, so here is a busy chart type. And so this is just, again, something different, but it is a specific chart. You can also go ahead and, right click on the chart. You can click edit chart properties, and you can change all of these other things similar to what we just did. Plot style, you can change colors, you can go into the scaling, and you can change grid lines. All of these options are specific to the chart. I'm not going to go through all of the different options. They're mostly self-explanatory. If you have a question, leave it in the comments. But I think most of these are pretty self-explanatory as you start changing and toggling with the different settings. The key distinction here is that you would be right-clicking and you would be saving the chart as something that you're specifically interested in. Now, let's move on to layouts. Everything we've looked at so far has just been a full screen chart, but we can add other things to our screen, to our primary layout. And I'm going to show you how to do that. Let's start with something very simple. Let's say we want to add a watch list to keep an eye on during the day as we're trading. So I'm going to click on the watch lists button up here, and I'm just going to click on Canadian ETF. Okay, so now we have this watch list that has appeared in our screen here, and let's say we want to add this watch list to the side of our chart. And so we're going to click on this little move window button here, and we're going to click on the first option, which is move. And suddenly now we're presented with a bunch of arrows, and we can add it as a tab. And I was showing you earlier as we tabbed through the different chart types, that's exactly where that watch list would go if we tabbed it. But we also have these right, bottom, left, top arrows here. We have this right on the side. So what we're going to do is we're going to just click to position item to the right of here. And what we now get is a screen that is divided 2/3 with chart, 1/3 here on the watch list, and we can adjust it. We can move this as we see fit. And what we're basically doing now is modifying a layout which includes a watch list and a chart. And it's actually not just one chart, it's actually a tabbed 5 charts. I'm going to get rid of the Dow Jones chart here, but it's a tab now 4 charts. So that's what this layout, if I were to save this layout, would include is a watch list with 4 different tab charts. And so let me show you first. We're going to talk a little bit more about how you can adjust the layouts, but I'm going to show you how to save a layout. So on the bottom tabs here are where the layouts exist. So you can see this is currently called single standard. That's just what we came into this, that's what my default is for a single standard chart. But if I were to right click on that tab and then I click save layout as, I would now give this a name. So I could call this, Canadian ETF, Canada ETFs plus, charts, or whatever I want to label it. Click save, and now I can always recall this screen, this layout with my watch lists positioned as I wanted it to on the right, with the charts in the left side. I'm going to click cancel because I don't want to save that. And I want to show you some other options here. So I'm going to click on file and I'm going to click on open layout. And what we can see is we have on the left hand side, these are all layouts that I've already built myself or have worked on. But on the right hand side, you can see all these pre-built layouts. So you can see all of these different ways you can construct your chart. And you can see other starter layouts down here. So let's just, for instance, go to this top right one that's for time frame. Let's click this. And suddenly now, TC2000 has this pre-built layout for us, which is a 4-chart different time frame, multi-time frame view, with the left side now being a watch list. And so I can actually go through here and I can change the chart, change the symbol on this watch list, and all of the charts get updated. And so there's a couple of things to talk about on this particular view or on this layout. So the first is all of these charts are linked up. That's one thing to take notice of. And the way they are linked up are through this little symbol link. So if you take a look up here at the symbol link, you can notice it's on a blue symbol link. And then if you look at the chart over here, it's also a blue symbol link. And in fact, they all are. And that's why they're moving together, is because they're all linked on a blue symbol. Now, when I change it, all of them update to synchronize with one another. If I actually want to say, you know what, I don't want this one to sync up. I want to change this to, not linked, or I could change it to another color. But notice now when I click, that's the only one that's not moving, and that's because I just unlinked it. And the reason I might want to do this is, let's just say I want this to be the S&P 500. I just want to keep this on the S&P 500. I want to keep it on, time frame is fine, but I just want to keep it on the S&P 500, and I want to go down here and I want everything else to move because I want to compare, what Adobe's doing versus the S&P 500, or what ADM is doing, or whatever I'm clicking on in this watch list versus the S&P 500. So this is a way now to synchronize symbols, but we can also synchronize time frames. And so let me show you quickly how we can do that. If you notice the T time frame link in here, this little T symbol, you can see that currently we don't have them linked up, but we can. So what we can do is we can say, you know what, I want to change now the time frame link to red, and I want to change the time frame link to red up here, and that's it. And so now if I change this time frame, notice only the top 2 charts are moving. That's because I've synced up their time frame to whatever I am looking at here. Because I clicked on daily, they both move to daily. If I click on weekly, and the bottoms aren't changing. If I change these now to say green, you can see now that they will start to synchronize with one another. So I can change those to daily. These can stay on weekly. I can now change the symbols. We have those 3 working. And this is a way now in your layouts to start to synchronize time frames and symbols. And this starts to get more complex too when you get into scanning and you start scanning for things. You can actually have the scan linked up on the time frame and the symbol as well. We're going to have a separate video on scanning, so I'm not going to get into any of the specifics there, but essentially here all you need to know is on this layout you can synchronize time frame and symbol. So once again here, this was our 4 time frame layout. If we go back to, let's actually, what we're going to end up doing now is clicking on File and opening the factory default workspace. And we're going to kind of finalize here with workspaces and then just different layout types. So when I open up this factory default workspace, this is something you might have be familiar with when you first were a TC2000 subscriber. This is what you were probably presented with when you first booted up the software. And what this is a workspace that has all kinds of different layouts, and subsequently all different types of charts or chart types. So what you'll notice here is this layout now is something, again, totally different. We've got a chart in the top right, we've got a watch list on the left, and now on the bottom, we've got some trading windows here. So we have, if we had a brokerage open with TC2000 and we were placing orders, our positions would show up here, our trades would show up here, our order types would show up here, or if we were paper trading, they would all show up at the bottom. This is just another layout type that we can build, that we can construct. And if I actually just go down this tab down here, you can see here's our TC Classic. So again, you've got notes and news down here. You've got a watch list on the left, you've got charts on the right, and we can just go down and down the list here, and you can see all of these different layouts that we are essentially paging through. And this has two different chart types on this main window here. So the key distinction is that chart types are the most specific. We can right click, we can save them, and that's our core chart, grid, indicators, so on and so forth. Layouts now have all of these other elements. Everything outside of the chart is now in a layout, and we can save layouts by right clicking on the bottom. We can save them, and then if we click on this new layout tab, we can just open up other layout tabs. And we can have all of these different layouts built on a workspace. A workspace is everything open here. It is everything. It is all these different layouts. It is all the different chart types. It is the biggest sort of overlay encompassing view of TC2000. If you've been a TC2000 user for a while, the old terminology here were layout groups. So you'd have layouts and layout groups. It seems like they've done away with layout groups and they're just calling them workspaces now. And so workspaces is, again, everything that you see here and all of the tabs at the bottom, which have multiple layouts. A couple of things to keep in mind here. So number one, workspaces are potentially get to be a very heavy load, very bulky thing. If you've got, say for instance, even this, what we're looking at here, the factory default, this has all of these different layouts running, and they have all those different chart types. They have all those different watch lists. If you're keeping this open during the day, this is pulling in lots of data and resources. So I would be just mindful about all of the different layouts you have running. If you can create a slimmed down version when you're trading just to keep resources low so you don't have a lot of latency and your system isn't slowing down, that's a good tip. Recommendation is to just eliminate all of the bulk. And then maybe after hours, you have a different research workspace, which has all of the heavy, kind of analysis that you like to do. Another key sort of tip here is that on the file column up here, so if you click file and you go to workspace history, TC2000 is really good at saving the layouts, your history throughout the session. So basically, if you ever make a mistake, if you delete something, if you delete a chart, or if something disappears, or you break a layout or a chart or a watch list, oftentimes you can come into the workspace history and just restore an older version. So you can actually just scroll down here and restore an older version, and that might bail you out in case you make a mistake. And then as soon as you restore a version that's good, make sure you save it again. That way you have it, you've saved it, and you're good to go, and you've recovered sort of the any type of mistake. So those are two sort of helpful things that I think will be helpful. That's really the high level of what I wanted to talk about. We didn't get into all the details because we'd be here for a very, very long video. So again, all of the different chart settings and chart properties we didn't talk about. There's lots of different ways to move in here. We talked briefly about this little move button here. I didn't talk about all of it, but you can essentially swap different you can put chart types in little small squares. You can float them in new windows. So I didn't get to talk about that. If you're interested in a specific video on just like arranging elements, leave a comment below. Maybe I can do a separate video on that. But generally speaking here, there's lots of customization you can do in terms of moving. And we touched on a little bit of it when we went to the open layout. We saw all the different views here, and a lot of those are pre-built. So I would just definitely take a look at some of the starter layouts and the pre-built layouts that they give you in TC2000 if you are interested. And options, we didn't talk about options, but you can, certainly have an options watch list on here as well. and so on and so forth, and really kind of give you more flexibility. So that's, I think, the high level of what I wanted to talk about. Hopefully you found this video helpful, and I always like to ask and just remind everyone here, for those of you who are more experienced, if I missed anything very important on this topic, or if you have more information you'd like to share, tips or suggestions, please leave a comment below. I want everyone to learn from everyone, so I'm constantly learning about TC2000, even though I've been using it for a decade. So please leave a comment below if you think I missed anything big. And don't forget, we have a lot more TC2000 guides on our channel, as well as resources and downloads on our website. So be sure to check it out, thetraderisk.com. And that's all I've got. So have a great day and good luck trading.